Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Westergaard.
Yep.
Boltman.
Here.
Moeller.
Here.
Reese.
Here.
Huss.
Here.
Stanky.
No public forum. Consent agenda. Additions, corrections.
Nope.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Boltman.
Yes.
Stanky.
Yes.
Huss.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Okay, Brent, would you like to give us an update?
Yes.
Please.
Good evening. My name is Brent Muggerberg. I'm here on behalf of the Hometown Pride Committee to present the council with an update to key projects that we've been working on. A major focus for the Hometown Pride Committee has been exploring the viability of the Community Event Center. In March of this year, several members of the committee embarked on a tour of community event centers in Everly, Sioux Center, and Orange City. This experience provided us a valuable insight as to how event centers of various sizes are managed, financed, and maintained. Later that same month, the committee voted to conduct a feasibility study for the Community Event Center in Lakeview. The study was performed by Kevin Woods of Woods Consulting Group through mail and email surveys to businesses and community organizations located within a 30-mile radius of Lakeview. The study also looked at wedding certificates issued by Stanton County last 2 years, county demographics, and rental packages offered by neighboring facilities. The Lakeview Hometown Pride Committee received a draft of the feasibility study last week. At this point, the committee is not ready to present specific items of the feasibility study as we're waiting on more details from Woods Consulting. Some of our members are also looking to fill in certain knowledge gaps, kind of conducting their own research. Our goal is to have a clear report from which the Hometown Pride Committee can make a recommendation to the City Council on whether or not we should proceed forward with this project. By my estimate, we should be ready to make that decision within the next 1 to 2 months. The second project I want to mention is the construction of a splash pad in our community. A splash pad would provide both residents and visitors with additional water recreation at a fraction of the cost of a swimming pool. Compared to pools, splash pads not only have a cheaper initial price tag, but the operating costs are considerably reduced and much lower maintenance and staffing requirements. This project is in its very early planning phases. We have no definite design picked out, but we can show you some examples of a splash pad taken by one of our members in Walnut, Iowa. Do you have that on this example? There you go. Like I said, this is no definite design. We don't have any design picked out, but this is just an example of one that's in the community of Walnut.
Oh, wrong way.
That looks like a major
Yeah,
splash pad there.
That would be a major splashdown.
Yeah, you know you splashed it out.
That'd be
You
kind
better
of
get the splash pad after that.
There you go. Some more.
See those? A lot of those shoot right out of the ground. I know there's been a lot of discussion about features like that. If we'd look at doing something like this, it may be very low lying, especially if we look at something in Speaker Park, and keeps the open feel again of that area.
So anyways, you
Oh,
kind of get an
hey,
idea.
there's Jeff.
You get an idea of what we're kind of having, and what we're kind of looking at anyway. In addition to this project with the splash pad, we're also talking about addition of sidewalks that would make the park, make its current and future amenities more accessible to visitors. Again, no definite design on where these sidewalks would go. The Hometown Pride Committee wishes to begin moving forward with planning of a splash pad since it recently received a possible opportunity for fundraising for this project. In summary, our committee is seeking 3 items from the council. 1, confirmation that the council is still on board with weighing the possibilities of a community event center. 2, confirmation that the council supports the Hometown Pride Committee's efforts to begin planning for a splash pad. And 3, permission from the council for the Hometown Pride Committee to begin fundraising for a splash pad. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Well, with the splash pad, Sioux City is closing more of them than they're opening.
Are they pools or splash pads?
Splash pad.
Splash pads.
They thought they was gonna close pools and put splash pads, but now they're closing them too.
Where are the pools?
Maybe it's because of the liability of it. I don't know what it is, but we hear it on the news all the time.
I've heard the pools that they were closing that.
I heard the pools too, and that they were trying to put an actual another splash pad in up there by one of the pools.
Well, earlier this spring they was closing them, I don't know.
It's just the concept on liability in general. Larry,
Liability.
is that if cities have general exemption of liability for recreational purposes. Okay, now it's got to be designed properly, and you need to most likely mayor, use an engineer in order to have this designed properly and meet their specification and everything. But when you do everything and you jump through all the hoops properly, there's a liability exemption.
Yeah. I don't know what the reason was, I mean, but we hear it every once in a while in the news.
Just, and the other things about splash pads are generally they're not staffed. Okay, they self-operate, and there's options about what you can do with the water. You can hook up directly right into the water system, and you just have one-time use water, or it's also common to have a recirculating system if you want. Of course, that saves on the water, but then has initial much higher capital cost to start with.
And price and testing and all that because it's recycled.
Yep, I don't know. You might be right.
Yeah. We've always, Joy and I have always thought if it was very close, like to the shelter house and the kids was out, say you had a picnic and kids go running through the splash pad and get all wet, I can't imagine very many parents being very happy about something like that.
I thought they'd be pretty excited about that. It's another amenity for the kids. But.
But, I mean, I just couldn't see where it would be much of an asset.
This is just something that our council and our committee, in this SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, and such, identified last year as a possible improvement to Speaker Park.
So would a swimming pool.
True.
It's more costly.
Well, we know that. It'd be a bigger asset.
It's a big money pit.
Yeah. But all these little towns built, and hell, look at Glidden, hell, at the town half our size. Got a wonderful pool over there.
I talked to Pat Faze on the council. They'd give it up in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I imagine Breeder would too. They've fought that a long time, but
Yeah, it's a lot of cost, a lot
it's a
of.
busy pool.
Well, I think it doesn't do any harm to move forward with,
That's all they're asking for is
Yeah, to-
council support to let them go ahead and do it.
yeah, I don't think it's all a bad idea at all.
That would be in the form of a motion.
That'll be a form of a motion.
Do we have a second to support the
I'll second.
event center? Okay, here we go. Roll call.
No, well, you
We
need
got
a
the
little
event center,
confirmation.
Yeah,
What's
what motion in here?
what's the motion?
but the support,
The support that he asked for, the three different items.
Okay.
They're kind of three different things though.
Well, the ask was for confirmation of commitment to an event center,
Okay.
confirmation and approval of planning for splash pad, and permission for fundraising for splash pad.
Right.
Those are the three things.
And none of which consists of city funds.
no,
Nope.
not asking for anything. Ready?
Okay.
Roll call.
Stankin,
Yes.
Huss,
Yes.
Reese,
No.
Moeller,
Can I vote?
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
I had to make sure.
Thanks, Brent.
Don't want
You're welcome, thank
conflict
you.
or anything.
4-1.
Okay, DOT snow removal. We just have to approve
Yeah,
it. We're gonna do
just,
it again?
it's a one-year agreement, and this is the same agreement that we've had
Last
for
couple years.
years, and they increased the per mile payment to $800 in 13-14. So,
There. Okay, we need a motion to approve the snow removal agreement.
So move.
Second,
I'll second.
roll call.
Boltman,
Yes.
Moeller,
Yes.
Reese, Huss,
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
Okay, we got a car show coming up.
Yeah, and really, the only thing about Show and Shine is they did that in the fall of 14.
Yep.
It just ended up being a lot bigger than what they
Lot of
had,
cars.
what they had thought.
It was a
So,
nice show.
you know, and Tim Laney's been the contact person, and the only thing that he asked for was permission to use parks between the Stone Pier and then possibly over into Speaker Park would be overflow over there. So that is actually on the grass. you know, so they park things on the grass. But it's in the middle of September, hopefully that's all right by then. You just might want to think about upfront granting permission to close the street.
Is that one side or the other, or both sides of where the memorial is? If they're gonna be parking on the grass?
Yeah, it would,
Last time we used both sides.
Say
I
it'd be
know
on
it,
the
but
east
the
side.
memorial's there now.
They just wouldn't be able to get close.
They wouldn't be able to
You're
get
gonna
any
have to
closer
keep 'em
than
from
the
getting-
fountain and probably,
You
Yeah.
know,
would they?
Well, could you put up some barricades of
some
some
kind
sort?
of,
Yeah, we could do that.
keep them back a little way.
Keep them back away from the,
Yeah,
driving on the, I mean,
Right.
get too close, I mean,
yeah.
I don't think that'd be an issue, would it?
No.
I mean, 4, 5, 6 barricades,
Yeah.
But-
They were easy to work with last time.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to close the street so they could park on the street. If it's muddy, you know, that might be a big thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if
It's
it's been
a
rainy, you don't want anything going on
Good
the
draw
grass.
too, I mean, if we have to close the street.
How long does that usually last?
so that,
Not a 2-hour deal.
Yeah.
Not a
very-
2-hour thing is all I ever saw.
So I guess
I
I
don't
thought
know.
it lasted a
Yeah.
little longer than that last time, or maybe it didn't.
Pretty much all
They
afternoon.
only
Yeah.
walked the street for 2
Yeah.
hours.
It was a nice day for it too. Very nice weather,
Maybe that's why they weren't in a hurry to leave.
maybe.
Yeah. Well, September's usually, you know, it is.
Yeah. So we'll just ask for a motion to grant them permission to close 3rd Street.
I'll make that motion,
Second,
I'll second.
roll call,
Is that if needed, or?
if needed.
needed,
If
yes.
needed.
okay. Moeller,
yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Huss. Thank you.
yes,
Woltman.
Yes.
Okay, got transfers from funds, fiscal end year.
Yeah, let's take a look at the fiscal year-end report, which is on page 5. And actually, before we look at page 5, just flip to page 6, lower left corner of page 6. That's the really big picture. This is total funds then that the city has, is in the lower left-hand corner. So every month we, of course, reconcile the checkbooks and we reconcile everything. And these are then the reconciled amounts at the end of the year, $1.595 million of funds on hand. Now, as you look at all of the funds, they're all broke out and generally earmarked for something. So it's not like I have a lot of discretionary funds that are available to spend. But just a couple of notes here. I'm on page 5 again. When you look at some of the negative balances in the capital fund, the green infrastructure funds negative $7,100. These are reimbursable by grant funds. We just haven't received grant funds yet. And Blackhawk Lake Trail Phase 2 is another $7,200 negative, and that's reimbursable from grant funds. And Pier 25 project, we're getting a memorial donation to offset that. Another couple of items of note: the balances of the wastewater treatment plant project as of June 30 is $70,000. We've started doing a little bit of set aside for that, so that's at $70,000. And the Public Works building project put $10,000 away again this year, so there's a balance of $20,000 in that, and we'll continue to set aside money. And Lon's going to work on a design here before too long about Public Works building, or not just Public Works, but it's Public Works and electric. Flipping the page to the top, see the balance on the street fund is only $59,000. We do not have a substantial amount to carry forward on the street fund. We actually overspent a little bit on road use tax, and we did not transfer additional money for street construction. But we do have in road use tax, we got another $29,000 in the checking account. The sewer revenue, the water revenue, the electric revenue, those are all just sinking funds, so we always have money to pay our debts. See the electric improvement fund, we had borrowed some money from there, and we still are owing that fund some money for the next payments on the bathhouse, but that's at $215,000 now. Just looking at the next page then, on page 7, is the year-end report for each one of the funds or each one of the classifications. So just looking at the top, you see that the police, at the end of the year, they had a total budget for the year of $267,900. Year-to-date balance, they had spent $259,800. So they'd spent 96.9% of their budget and had unexpended amounts of $8,093. So Royce was very happy he maintained under budget on that. He was very proud. And as you look at some of the negative ones, roads, bridges, that's road use tax. That's largely snow removal. Snow removal costs were up a little higher this year than what they had been in the past. And parks were about $7,000 over budget also.
Is that because of lawnmower?
No, the lawnmowers come out of capital funds. Any questions?
Do we know why that is so much off on the parks?
A lot of times it's timing of expenses that we ended up with expenses coming in the last month of the year. Any questions?
If not, we'll do 1644.
Can we do a couple things, a couple different things, Mayor? Just a motion to approve the financial report.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Moeller,
Yes.
Stankin,
Yes.
Huss,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
And then there's several transfers that were already incorporated
Page
into
9.
that. You made a motion, Tim?
Second? Is that what it was?
Tammy made a motion.
Yep. Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
This is vote on the resolution. Okay. Moeller,
Yes.
Stankin,
Yes.
Huss,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Boltman.
Yes.
We're legal now.
We're good.
There you go. Okay, we're up to the lagoon.
Yeah.
Curious to see what he has to say about it.
Lon, you want to come up?
Sure. Before we get too much into any of the stuff in the packets or anything, we can show a little bit about our sewer tour last week.
Good times.
Want to make it a monthly event?
Yeah.
They didn't smell.
No, they didn't.
I surprised
They
you.
were amazing.
Oh, crap.
Well, that comes up on the next slide, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking sewer now.
Yeah.
While he's pulling that up, I'll just start. That we're looking at a Lemma system and a Sagar unit. Of all the people that went down there, here's the Lemma system. You're actually standing on 14 foot of water there. And those pumps are out there in that water, and you have to maintain them pumps. I really didn't think much of that idea myself.
I didn't either.
It just looks like a hazard. Well, since I've gotten back, I've called other communities. Remsen has a Lemma system. It's 4 years old, and they actually lost a curtain the other night in the wind. And it ripped the buttons out. And where you can see where we're standing for the guys that didn't go, that's actually, there's a foam liner in that one, which kind of keeps you afloat. If you walk out 5 foot where them pumps are in line with them pumps, so you got to have boots on then because you start sinking in the water. And my question to them was, well, what if you the buttons start ripping, just like it did. And you're out there on that thing, nobody's got any safety gear on or anything, and I didn't think much of that system. Then he also said once a month you gotta go out there and pull the weeds on the thing.
Right here.
And you can see the weeds growing,
They go right
and
through.
where that weed is growing, them sacks at Remsen, those sacks are already starting to rip, and they've got sand in them. And he said they're starting to degrade already after 4 years. Personally, I didn't think much of that system. It was, I also took and called the city clerks there and got some estimates on electric costs of kilowatt hours. And then Scott has kind of put that into a cost comparison for what it would cost Lakeview to run that system. And that's on the very last page, if you get, I believe it was on the last page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ron, tell them what
Right
these pipes are.
Okay, those are, if you see that shed in the background where the pickups, there's 3 pumps back in there that pump air. And basically you're pumping air into the water, and there's a diffuser underneath there that hangs down underneath the water, and that starts your chemical process, how you would say it, to lower your BODs and CBODs and ammonias and nitrogen levels. This one, if I remember right, was running parallel, so each side did its own job. The system that Bob is designing, I believe, is going to run in series, where it'll go through one, then it'll go over to the other cell, and it continually is getting cleaned as it comes through. But as far as running that plant, is just opening up them valves to let air go in. There's diffusers underneath the water. This guy said they've had to go out and fix a couple diffusers, but I had talked to Kingsley, and he has found a way on his, which is a Sagar unit, when he had the diffuser that got plugged, and he closed all the pipes and put more air pressure to it, and he said it cleaned it right off, so he didn't even have to go out and fix them. And that's what he's done so far. He's just kind of found that out, and that plant's only 2 years old. Do you have any of the Sagar units,
Oh, yeah.
Scott?
Yep, we'll get there.
One of the things that they told us too, if they gotta work on it's like a pontoon system. So when you gotta go out there and work on them, he said you need another guy to go with there to keep it stable.
Yeah.
Isn't that what he said?
Yeah,
If I understood that right.
And personally, guys, there's gonna be a harness system. If you guys would go with this, I'd require a harness
Yeah,
system,
there's a
have to be on them.
safety issue, I think.
Yeah, I just can't, I even said that to this Todd, the operator. I said, I know you feel comfortable walking on it now. Are you gonna feel comfortable walking on it when it's 20 years old? And he said, well, I don't know about that. Well, that's what I'm thinking, if the sandbags are already ripping
Yeah,
after 4 years, are we even gonna get 20 years out of that?
Exactly, that's what-
Out of that curve.
But there's 4 pumps on each side of the lagoons that run all the time, or periodically, isn't it?
Yeah, and that they're a stir rater. Them pumps that you see up on them are actually a stir rater to keep the solids in suspension, which makes it degrade faster. Now, when you go to the Lemna system, you probably won't, or the Sagar unit, you won't see the pumps out there. They don't have pumps out in them. At least the one we want seen.
When you look at this, and the main concept yet out of this is that they're both lagoons yet. So what we're looking at is still lagoons. They're aerated lagoons, so you're constantly pumping air through them. Okay? But the main thing about this Lemna system is the cover. And that especially during cold weather and wintertime, you can't treat for ammonias when it gets to be that cold. Well, the cover mitigates the temperature. So it always stays at least warm enough in there. But that's the main reason for having a cover. But we'll look at the other one and you'll see it's not covered.
Yeah.
The other thing, I guess, real quick,
But you got
because I don't think I have
nice to
any
start with
pictures. I don't have any
ripping.
pictures of this.
Well,
But the other thing about this is, see the yellow bars in back. That is a different finishing unit You know, where they're pumping air through another type of a unit where it's growing bugs on some different type of media.
It's
And
basically like our trickling filter that we have now.
Mhm.
It's on the same concept.
Yes, it is.
And then you can't see it over the hill, but after it goes out of that yellow system, then it goes to a UV system, which is the light bulbs down in the water that kill the E. coli bacteria.
so, here you go. Here is a Sager system. So again, we'll talk about how this works. But this is the open air lagoons. But there's that blower building again. Still the same concept that it works off of air.
Now, one thing I did, I talked to this guy at Kingsley, I talked to Remsen, and of course Todd at Sloan. Remember, did you guys go in the building at Sloan and how noisy it was in there?
There, yeah.
I had called these two guys and talked to them, and he said, you can carry a conversation in his building. You know, just like we're talking now, that's how much quieter the fans run. But you have to buy a silencing kit. It's another deal, and I think you're going to have that, because that's one of the homeowners that are out there. That is one of their requests, that this thing is going to be quiet and they're not going to hear it running in the night.
Another thing that, when he was talking about too, was that with all that electronics in there, there's a lot of heat buildup.
Yes.
And with that heat buildup, that can cause your control panels to fail. So, you know, when we talked about it, you'd almost have to make a separate room there, if I understood.
And
right?
have it air conditioned or something in there, they said. and cooler.
Put your control room into a different
Yeah.
different environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so that you could.
Yeah.
And that,
But these are what, 12 foot deep, something like that?
12 to 15 foot deep. Yeah.
So, and the other thing about these is these are constant release. So water's coming in and water's flowing out all of the time.
For every gallon that comes in, a gallon's going out.
But, so on this one though, you see all of the rock around it, and the height of the lagoon can vary.
Yes.
So when you get real heavy peak flows coming in, it would raise the level of the lagoon. Okay? And you see how much it can raise, because it can go to the top of or pretty close to the top of the rock surface there. But, and then there's a system that allows those pipes to float up and down a little bit then
You
too.
can see the cable going across above the pipe that keeps that pipe lined up. And there's basically, on the white deals on the backside, them are like an anchor on a pulley system. So as the water goes up, that cable pulls tighter and loosens up, so that it's got some give, so you can, you know, so you're not breaking pipes, basically.
Yeah.
So again, just the idea here is these are basic lagoon systems. You're just adding air
Yeah.
until you come to that thing, which looks kind of nondescript, but that is the Sager unit. That
Those are roughly 8 foot deep. If you see the 2x4s that frame the outside of it, that's just a temporary wall. And then they put a bladder inside of that. It's a pretty heavy plastic. Then they start dumping rock in, then they'll dump a little dirt on the outside. They don't care if the wall rots away in time. And as we looked at his, it was starting to rot away a little bit. And it's just a temporary deal, so they can get the rock placed in this.
So is that stuff grows on there like that?
There's weeds growing in that, and he said he shouldn't have that.
Oh.
He just hadn't taken the time. That's actually trees ground up on the very top.
Oh.
And he told me he had to put some more in there, and I said, well, how do you get it in there? He said, we just drive skid loader on top of there. And it's because it's 8 foot deep with rock, and then he didn't tell me how much mulch, but he thought it was supposed to be around 14 inches when they started. And he says, I need to add more. And it can be any kind of tree bark. If like the electricians are out chipping out in the country, they can throw that on top of that. And that basically tries to keep the heat in the wintertime. So them rocks stay about the same temperature all year long, which the cover is doing on the other system.
Yeah, it just insulates this.
Yeah, right, correct.
and then so water flows through here, and then you see some of the electronics maybe on the kind of the back left side of the picture as we're looking at it. That's their UV system, and then it flows through the UV system and then flows out. See, the wetland in the back has nothing to do with the sewer plant. It
No.
just happens to be there.
You have to be there.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Now, there's 4 cells like that. There'll be 4 cells like that. And this Marcy from MC Squared, they're the designer of this system. And kind of what I like with this company, they were kind of a test company, a test pilot at this town. And but they actually they put them on a schedule, and the air valves have to be adjusted throughout the season. Like in September, you might have this valve has to be open 3/4. They actually set up a schedule for you. So you don't have to question whether you should do it today. It's set up on a schedule. They contact you and tell you it's time to open up this valve, which I kind of thought was a neat deal.
Yeah.
Then we're not second guessing ourselves, and
So it's working, right?
Well, they've got all the data, so
they've got the data, and
that's,
but as far as the safety, this is now granted, off of those pipes you can kind of see where the different bubbles are blowing out there. That's the diffusers that go down in the water, and they're weighted down with 50-pound blocks. And he said, this guy told me, he says, if you just shut all the valves and open them up, it'll blow the stuff right off the diffuser. So he's never had to go out and fix a diffuser yet.
well, didn't the other system, when they went into the final stages, how the air wasn't blowing quite right because they were plugged on the one over
In Sloan.
Yeah, it was all plugged up, the different air pressure was coming out of different, none of it was the same.
Yeah.
It didn't look like to me anyway.
Yeah, and that could happen here too. I mean, this diffuser is almost like an octopus. In fact, there's a picture of the diffuser in the
Yeah, the
go to
one,
the Sagar unit. There's
the one
a
that
picture.
says
It looks like an
Nelson or
octopus.
Optare, that's the Sager, Nelson.
Yeah, right on page, I believe it's about 4 pages in.
I never did like that.
Right here. This is your diffuser right here. Now that's what's on this unit, the Sagar unit. The Lemna system is just a single pipe down there on a T. It'll be just one of these pipes. Where this one has a little bit more to it in the Sagar unit.
You know, of course, the first thing that we wanted to check out as we pulled into the place is, can you notice any odor?
Yeah.
And you just virtually noticed virtually nothing. As you're standing right next to the first lagoon cell, it may smell a little earthy, and this is standing within feet of it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing there that smells like sewer.
Well, how far do you think the swimming pool was away from that, guys? Less than a quarter mile. The
Yeah.
swimming pool was. When we left there, the swimming pool was right up on the highway where we turned in.
Oh, so they're recycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Oops, that's...
No, you need that one.
No, I need to...
I never did like that covered unit.
Well, personally,
I never did.
as far as maintenance, I think your Sagar unit is going to be the least amount of maintenance and cost down the road, the least amount of cost down the road. And that's just maybe a common sense, what I'm looking at. Well, and then after talking to Remsen in 4 years, they've already lost the cover in the wind.
Yeah.
Well, look at the wind we've had around here this year, so,
Well, when you get out in the country out there, they ain't like you down here.
yeah, that's right.
Here's just a little kind of overall view of it. You'll see both of the cells of the lagoon. See a little moss there. They get a little moss or algae to grow. He says probably shouldn't be there, but it doesn't do any harm.
How many catfish in there?
No, up to thick and grew in there. The shape of this is a little different because it is actually their old lagoon site, and so it isn't a rectangle. This is one of them. The first one was kind of a triangle, and the reason being it was their old lagoon site. So they just,
Put the system.
capitalized on it being there. Now, something that they said you should do, and this Marcy from MC Squared said you should set some money aside every year for dredging. A certain amount, because after 15 to 20 years is what they're expecting, that it'll have to be dredged. And not the whole thing, probably just portions of it where the incoming, the influent would be coming in.
Kinda like the lake.
Yeah, it's gonna fill up slowly.
Yeah.
I mean, we take about a dump truck full of sand out of the sewer plant every year. But if you figure the size of this thing, it's gonna take a lot of years to fill it up with sand. And I had asked about, Sloan had they had a screening filter down there to take the sand out and stuff. And they also had a grinder pump. Bob isn't recommending any of that. He said, let's just let it go in there and we'll take care of it then later on. I tend to agree with him because that muffin monster that we just put in was what, almost 20,000? And that would be your grinder. And
So be able to hold on
if
to
so
that.
be it, we could utilize that if we wanted to, but Bob doesn't think we need it. So why put it in and have because that runs 24 hours a day. So I don't know that it's necessary to put it in. I think we should let that up to Bob.
Can we take a look at the Sager packet and just the big pull-out sheets at the back of that packet? Just real quick through the flow of what happens to the water. You want to talk through that, Lon?
Well, if you go to the top of the page, it shows the influent coming in there. I'm not really sure that Bob's doing it this way on this plan. But it's actually going through the one, going through that first cell, going across to the other cell, which I think that's what Bob is proposing. And going to the finishing filter, which is almost like our trickling filter is right now. Then it's going to end up going into the rock bed to the north there at the top of the page again, and then back out to the creek.
Yeah, I see those, the darker,
That is your Sagar.
the four long ones there. A unit is actually two, okay, but whenever you build anything, you got to build it with redundancy. So the state still requires that redundant units be there. So it could run off of two, but it's one of these deals where you got to have four, and just in case one of them goes down, you can shut that one off for maintenance purposes. You can still run off of the other two. Okay, it doesn't show the UV system after that, but after the water comes out of the Sager system, it would go through the UV, kills off any of the E. coli, and then it's into the receiving stream.
Now remember where the influent is at the top of the page, there's going to be a lift station there too. And I'm betting they're going to be pretty good sized pumps.
To mean to start with.
Yeah, well, we'll end up having to lift the sewage up from about right in here, right here. We'll lift that sewage up, probably 10 to 15 feet. Well, maybe even higher than that, guys. Depending on how deep that pipe is when it comes across that field. So I'd almost plan on at least 15 feet, probably lifting it up 15 feet.
So how deep do they think this sewer pipe is?
Well, we've got to be 3 foot under the creek, and so it's going to start under the creek at about, was it 10 foot or 13 foot, Scott? Well, it was a long time ago when I read that plan.
Yeah,
I think it was 13 feet. So,
But the entire dig is still real manageable. I mean, there's not any real deep spots on the.
well, there's natural grade going that way.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so the depth will stay pretty much permanent all the way across there. Well, that's the flow of the creek too, so the
That'll
land
help.
is naturally going that way.
Cut out.
That's what's made that site a very nice site, because everything could gravity flow all the way out there.
Yeah.
And if we end up going down Juki Poons' road there in Graham Hogue, that will also gravity flow all the way out. From once it crosses the highway, it'll be a pressure main, until it crosses the highway, then it will gravity flow. And there's a pressure main there already. There's a 6-inch pressure main out there on that road. I'm debating whether that's big enough myself.
Yeah.
So, did you catch the idea that Lon really likes the Sager unit?
Yeah.
I just, guys,
Well, it
I
looks
just
like,
think
I
in the
did
end,
too.
after 20 years, I just can't see that curtain lasting that long.
No.
You know,
looks
and-
like
and
the
you-
estimated costs are a little bit lower with the Sager also.
Yeah. And let's take a look at that, at this sheet that was preliminary cost. And I bolded and underlined the notion of preliminary because this is just real preliminary. This entire cost estimate just comes out of Bob's initial study of the concept of aerated lagoons, and then I made some changes in it to show what the Lemna versus Sager costs are. So, just looking at that, you can kind of pick out. There's only one thing that says Lemna and one thing that says Sager, and the Lemna was $787,000, and the Sager is $522,000, and so there's that bit of a change. And the other thing that's added to Bob's original estimate is what I just called reroute the sewer mains. That's the additional work on the north side of the lake as far as rerouting that, and this force main out to the highway and the new gravity line from basically goes from TCT out to the lagoon site. Okay, but that was estimated about $400,000. So again, this is really just FYI only to kind of put some idea around really what we're dealing with on cost. But for Lemna, there it is, 4.96 million, and the Sager units is 4.67 million.
That if you go down to the UV disinfections at $500,000, I think we got that cost because we wanted that fancy unit. Now, after talking to these guys, I don't know that we need to spend that money. Especially on the Sagar unit, the two towns that I talked to, Kingsley and Remsen, are only, well, Kingsley only cleans them twice a year. Now, on the Lemna system, he was cleaning them every 2 weeks. He said it takes about 2 hours. But, so I called Remsen and asked him, and he cleaned his twice in 1 year. And the plant is doing so well that they don't even need the bulbs in there, the UV system.
Wow.
So, and maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but what he's doing is cheating the system because there's a light that comes on that says the bulbs need to be cleaned, so he just cleans that rack of bulbs. He doesn't clean them all, he just cleans the one rack because the tests are coming back with nothing in there. So he's thinking, and you have to have it, there's no getting around it, you have to have it, but the plant's doing such a good job that he really doesn't need the UV system. But we still have to have it. So maybe we should look at going with this Trojan unit, and they're kind of the leading industry. They're the ones that started the UV system. But when we were looking at, well, all the schools I went to, everybody says, oh, they're a pain in the ass to clean the bulbs. Well, it doesn't sound like you have to do it all the time. So we could maybe, I mean, that system from electric pump was quite high. That was one of the highest
and
ones on
that's,
the market.
So we'll look at this Trojan one. We'll also get some information on, they do have a self-cleaning squeegee type of a deal that can help out on the cleaning also.
Yeah.
Look at the second page of this two-pager, and that's just the electric usage that Lon was speaking to. So we got the actual electric bills from Kingsley and from Sloan, and then got our current, what we have at the mechanical plant right now. And just looking at the bottom two lines there, you see the average kilowatt hour usage for a month. For Sager, it had been 19,000 kilowatt hours. For Lemna, it was 27,000. And then we're currently at about 13.9. And you can see that I just applied our rates to those usage, and you can see what the dollars are then every month. So there is some variance in that. You know, it's hundreds of dollars, but not
That's per month?
per month.
Yeah.
That ain't bad.
No. Not too bad, because this was going to be the biggest change in operations was the increased electric load for us. But
It was worth the trip to see both of those
Yes, it was.
firsthand.
Yep.
Very informative.
Yep. The important part was it didn't smell. I didn't smell any of them. Maybe I can't smell, but Tammy smelled some
When I first
woody
pulled in,
stuff.
there was a little, like I say, that first cell had a little earthy, but, you know, not enough where our smell's worse than that does. You
Yes.
know, and we never get complaints, guys,
No.
of the smell from
You
our sewer plant.
very seldom smell
Yeah.
that when you drive.
So, so that was a plus, I thought, and I like the fact that you really couldn't hear them pumps either, you know, and, cause that's a big concern of the people out there.
The smell and the noise. If we
Yeah.
can stop both
Yeah.
of them, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
No questions?
Bob Veenstra was looking for some guidance from us about which path we might want to go down. And, you know, I really feel like we'd be heading down the path to a Sager unit.
I do.
I do too.
Do you need a motion on that or something, or?
Yeah, we sure can.
Tammy, with that motion?
I'll make the motion
To do the Sager,
to use the Sager.
the second?
You got a second?
No, go ahead.
I'll go.
Dave has a motion. You want to be second?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Roll call.
Okay. Woltman,
Yes.
Moeller,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Huss,
Yes.
Stankin.
Yes.
We will go down the Sager route.
Thanks, Lon.
Yeah,
Thanks for keeping us up to
Thanks, Lon.
speed.
okay.
You would be a real expert at sewers, huh?
That's your valedictorian.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the allergen. Yeah.
So John, may I keep
Yes, you may.
thanks?
Just couple things pertaining to Lon here too. But first, I've been talking with Larry Hauser a lot more about the window up once more. And, you know, he's interested in getting that fixed, although he does feel like he's only really responsible for one. He thought he was responsible for the west one maybe, and that was it. And he had gotten a different price quote and was working with Jake McCorkle on that. And it was going to be about maybe $350. And he's asking the city to split cost on that with him.
Same with me. Get it fixed. And to be more careful in the future. Well, you run a blower long enough to know that you can't blow up against the telephone.
I think the window was, he admitted the window was cracked before we ever got there though, didn't he?
I have no idea.
That's what I was told, but what the council wants to do.
I know it's,
If we pay once, we might pay forever.
well, it's not going to happen again.
Oh, okay.
You can guarantee that, huh?
No, but I would tell you, I think it's a way to dispense of the issue, and for $175.
I think take care of business, you know, get it done, as far as I'm concerned.
Is that a motion?
I think it's been about long enough, yeah.
That's a motion?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay, Reese,
Yes.
Stanky,
Yes.
Huss,
No.
Moeller,
No.
Woltman.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Motion fails. We need a motion to go into a closed session?
A couple other things in there.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
Guys, I just want to get this over with. I miss the crowd.
Do ya?
Not very much, but
Bite your tongue.
I didn't say that, Marcia, don't.
I know, I don't miss it.
Okay.
Just a little update on Sunset Drive, that they continue to work on installing storm sewer out there, and they're working on that storm. The middle of the 3 runs of storm sewer runs right between 2 houses in some really tight, cramped quarters.
So they're making progress, is that what you're saying?
They're working at it, you know.
This I want to hear.
Yeah.
We had a little confrontation out there today. He said, well, there ain't no inspector. I said, I'm the inspector today and we're gonna do it this way. And he wasn't real happy with me, but he did move the pipe then. And, they're not getting the pipe slid together all the way. And he said, oh yeah, I put that line on there and measured it, 12 inches back. And these pipe have to slide through a rubber gasket. And I said, well, let's just get a drill then and drill a hole in the pipe and we'll see if you got it slid all the way in. Well, it didn't. And we kept drilling back, drilling back, drilling back. Well, he didn't have it slid in. Well, he's already got 40 foot of pipe in. I said, well, now how are you going to get this shoved together? Now, guys, remember, this is water pipe. And the gasket's there so it can hold 80 pounds of pressure. There is no pressure here. It ain't any different than sliding a cement tile into a cement tile. But it should be put together right, in my opinion. So what I told him, I said, you call the engineer, and if he says you can cement that joint shut, I'll go with it. But you get it from the engineer first. So they were making a call to the engineer. The pipe slid in probably this far, maybe 4 to 5 inches. It should be in about 10 to 11 inches.
Well, would frost have anything to do with that? That would
Oh,
cause
no, I don't believe it could ever. I mean, they're right at frost line. They're really not gonna be underneath the frost, but I don't believe it could ever come apart. But let's hear it from an engineer, and that gets us off the line. And if he says it's fine to grout that line, I'm okay with it, because they have got it shoved together probably 4 inches right now.
Most of the time, the pipe's empty anyway.
Yeah, it's only gonna have water and that pipe will never run full of water. It can't get into the hole fast enough, But, they were a little upset with me today, but that's the way it goes.
you're doing your job then.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the one guy left. He was so mad at me, he left. He didn't come back.
Bet we got his phone number.
It's sounding,
it's
sounding right.
Well, I told him we're taking a camera down when we get it done, so you better do it right. And I think we should take the camera down, because I really want to see, because I told them they shouldn't shove that pipe together anymore today, and they tried. So I'm wondering if it damaged where they cemented today. And that's legal what they did. We called the engineer and asked him if that was okay, and he said yes. But they didn't give the cement enough time to cure, and they were pushing pipes, so I'm sure they slid it. And I said, well, if the camera can't get through there and it shows that it slid in, you're gonna have to redo it. So we'll go from there. I think we should spend the money and put a camera down it. It's only 35 feet, maybe 40 feet, that we can get Kenny in there and shove a camera down there.
Then you're gonna know it's done right.
Then we know, I told him, I said, it ain't hard to figure out once we put a camera up it, if it's not right.
Last week, as they're tearing down a lot of these trees from storm damage, they're tearing down a big tree up at Broaden, and Barry had a little bit of a back injury as they were working to tear that down. So both Lon and Barry are up in the man lift, cutting off a limb that overhangs the house, and they're piecing it down. And Barry is handling these pieces then as it comes down, and as he's doing that, twists or somehow wrenches his back a little bit. But he had a follow-up appointment with the doctor today. Everything seems to be fine. He's returned to work unrestricted tomorrow.
Unrestricted?
Unrestricted. And Harvester's still running sunrise to sunset as of right now, but we may reevaluate shortly as far as need. Because now we're getting mixed messages.
Yep. They've been struggling. It takes a long time, 5 hours to get a load this week, last week. But they still find patches here and there.
Yeah.
One day Bill says we don't need it, next day we do, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Last time I was out, there was a lot of grass, but that was a while back. Now you're ready for your
Yep.
motion to go into closed session.
I'll make it.
I'll say.
Second, roll call.
Thank you.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yep.
Huss.
Yes.